Maria, it's so nice to be sitting next to you today to record another episode of Just a Spanish Phrase.
This is a podcast created by News in Slow Spanish where we discuss idiomatic expressions.
But I got to tell you,
Mhm.
this episode, I have a bad feeling about this one.
Whoa, okay.
I can't explain it. I just have a sinking feeling in my gut that something's going to happen, something bad.
Is this a 13th episode?
Oh,
Or
like an unlucky one?
Yeah. Why do you
No.
have a bad feeling?
It's because the phrase that we're talking about today is all about bad feelings. Dar mala espina.
Oh, dar mala espina. How would you translate that? To give a bad thorn?
A thorn, that's right. Because if I say spine in English, that really means like
Like the back.
yeah,
right?
your back,
no.
your
To
vertebra.
give a bad thorn.
A thorn, that's right. So to give a bad thorn, because that's what espina means in Spanish, thorn or spike, it means to have a bad feeling, to have a bad premonition or a gut feeling that something negative, something bad is going to happen.
Have you ever had premonitions?
Oh, yes, all the time.
Yeah, but to me, the issue with premonitions, because I've had premonitions too, and sometimes they happen and sometimes they don't. So, how do you know when a premonition is a premonition and when it is not?
That's tough because I'm not really a superstitious person. Sometimes I'll have a bad feeling about something and I will reason myself out of that feeling and convince myself that no, it's just coincidences or, you know, it's not actually that something bad is going to happen. But what about you? What do you do with your premonitions?
I tend to ignore them because otherwise I think I would be completely paranoid. Like growing up in Venezuela, Venezuela is a very superstitious society. So everything you do, it's supposed to bring bad luck. If you see a black cat, if you walk under a stairs, if at some point I used to be very aware of all the bad things, of all the things that gave mala espina to the
Yeah.
society. And if they all had come true, if they all had brought bad luck, I would not be here talking to you right now. Because right now I see a black cat. It's good. I walk behind under the staircases. I travel on the 13th. I just ignore
I'm
those
glad. I
things.
think that's way healthier. Yes. I tend not to smash mirrors just for fun, but not because I'm superstitious. Just because I don't want to get cut. But it's interesting that you talked about premonitions right away, because to me the phrase reminds me less about that, but more about well, I guess it's related to premonitions, but more when something has already happened. I get a bad feeling, me da mala espina, that it's going to lead to other bad things happening. Like it's going to have a domino effect.
Well,
that's the
that's
way I
called
think about
knowing history. I mean, if you
Yeah.
read the newspapers nowadays, it is very logical that we all have mala espina about the state of affairs. So I don't know if that's really a premonition or it's just being informed.
it. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Every time a new conflict breaks out, or a new a new stage opens up in the world for conflict, me da mala espina. It gives me a bad feeling.
Yeah, of course. If I don't know, if an autocrat win the election, you have all the right to have mala espina about what can happen to your country.
That's right. And you're right. That is an informed way of thinking, because you look at the past, you look at history, and you see, well, if X and Y happens, it usually leads to Z.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The opposite would be to be like, oh, everything is fine, which is, it would be a delusion. It would be like living in La La Land.
Yeah, that's another expression we talked about here in the past. Lentes color de rosa, like everything through rose-colored glasses. But back to this one. When something gives you mala espina or a bad thorn, you get a bad feeling. Where do you think that comes from?
I don't know. I was thinking of the Disney movie or the Sleeping Beauty.
Oh, right.
Where she had a poisonous
on the loom, right?
Yeah. When you pick yourself with
Yeah.
something that is poisonous. So I'm thinking. Actually, I just read on the newspaper there was a music festival in Paris, in France, where I think 140 of the attendees got picked by needles.
I read about that too, and then the authorities said that there had been calls on social media to target women, and that they were on high alert. And so then when all these people started reporting that they had been pricked with a needle, they connected those two. And well, I don't know what's come of it yet because it's an ongoing story. I really hope that they weren't like
Poisoned.
Yeah.
Exactly, or with something bad. But yeah, that's where my mind took me. It sounds like a good way to attack a population, to prick them with a needle.
Oof.
Does that have anything to do with mala espina?
That's right. That's right. So espina or thorn, it it definitely evokes right away, like instinctively, a caution, because things that are spiky, thorny, have spines are generally dangerous. So we're talking about plants that defend themselves with spikes, or animals like the porcupine also with thorns.
Have you ever touched a porcupine needle?
I have touched one that wasn't attached to a porcupine.
It's crazy.
Yes.
It's really like, I don't know, like in the movies it seems soft, but it's very, very like dangerous.
Yeah, and on a microscopic level, like under a microscope, you see that it has these inverted barbs, so little spikes pointing the other direction.
Ouch.
So once it goes into your skin, it kind of gets locked in there.
Like,
by
remember
the-
our colleague that stepped into a sea urchin?
Oh yeah,
Ah.
yeah. Oof.
Okay, but I keep on interrupting.
So
you.
you know, but there you go. Our reaction to even talking about things with spines, with thorns, is to get the shivers, to recoil, because it is naturally something that tells you, watch out, this is dangerous. Whether it's a plant with thorns like a rose, you have to handle it with care, or an animal with thorns or spikes, be careful, don't come too close, don't pick it up and play with it. So thorns have that natural, they produce that natural reaction in us. However, some linguists go a little bit further, and they think that the origin of this particular phrase, mala espina, because it's not just any thorn, it's a bad thorn.
Mm-hmm.
They trace it back to the crown of thorns that Jesus Christ wore on the cross.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a symbol of suffering. It's a symbol of bad things to come. It's a bad omen. And that's where we get dar mala espina.
Oh, like putting those thorns on Jesus created all the craziness that happened after killing the Messiah. That should give mala espina, because everything to come after is bad.
I took it more literally, just that, a crown of thorns sounds like a terrible thing to wear.
It does sound like a terrible thing to wear.
But no, I really like your interpretation of it too. So I have to ask, right now, is there something that's giving you a bad thorn? Te da mala espina?
Do you have like 2 hours
Yeah.
to stay here in the podcast?
I hope our listeners are comfortable, because we could be here a while.
I'd rather not start that conversation.
It's too easy to go down the rabbit hole. It's
Yes.
true.
What about you?
I'm gonna keep it simple, because of course I could go into politics. I could talk about what's happening in the Middle East and all that. And see, I'm already starting. I want to keep going, but I'll keep it simple and close to home. The heat wave that we're experiencing right now, it gives me a bad feeling. It gives me, and not just the uncomfortable feeling of the heat, but it tells me like something worse is coming. I don't know. I think it's the effect of heat.
It's called global warming. Have you heard of it?
Oh, yeah. I think I've heard once or twice about that. It's something new.
It's
concept,
a hoax,
right?
right?
No, it's not, unfortunately. And y me da mala espina, gives me a bad feeling.
Yeah, I think there's actually the more interesting exercise would be to think, what doesn't give us mala espina nowadays?
Oof.
And I think you were talking about the Oceans documentary by Sir David Attenborough, where there's apparently an uplifting message at the end.
I did talk about that. That's right. And that's a perfect example, because so this documentary, like many documentaries that deal with nature and how it's under threat in our world right now, it has a predictable structure, but it's very effective. First, presents the wonderful, the wonder of nature. And then in the second part of the documentary, shows us with data, with images, with evidence, how we are
Destroying it.
Destroying it. And then, luckily, because I think by an hour and 15 minutes of this, I really needed this third section. It comes in with hope, with a message that, but there is some hope that we can turn things around. There is some hope that we can save the planet by saving our oceans. And, not to spoil it, because I really think our listeners should check this out, Oceans by David Attenborough, or with David Attenborough, is that the ocean, is incredibly resilient. And if you leave it alone, it recovers faster, way faster than anyone ever thought was possible.
I was actually reading *Sapiens* by Noel Yuval Harari, and humans have caused already several mass extinctions, but but the oceans have not been affected by those extinctions. So far, it has been terrestrial and air animals, but not the oceans. But now is the first time where we are actually creating a negative impact in the oceans. So that, I hope, I'm definitely going to see that documentary, that we stop there. We don't hurt the oceans, because
Wow.
there's a lot of life there, and there's hope for future life if we preserve the oceans.
Yeah. Talking about conservation and the state of the world and of nature, me da mala espina. It gives me a sinking feeling. But like I said, like David Attenborough said in the documentary, there is hope.
I hope so.
And
Adios.
with that, we'll end it.
Yeah.
Bye.